Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to talk about Black Dawn Rebirth.
Ooh, sounds scary, bro.
Yeah. So, normally at the beginning of our shows, I try and think of some interesting and humorous question to ask you regarding the title of the game.
Yeah.
I got nothing this week. Black Dawn Rebirth. What does that conjure up for you?
Remember Black Hawk Down?
I no.
The helicopter military
was that
was based on the
was that Rwanda or something like that?
It was one of those. Yeah. That's what it reminds me of. Eventually. Also, there was a comic book character named Dawn. Do you remember her?
No, Dawn's a dude, not a lady name.
She was a real busty chick. I know you're stunned.
Yeah.
In a comic book. And she had this real bizarre eye makeup. And her comics consisted of a real super hot, sexy cover, and then that's pretty much as far as I ever got in them comics. So and I don't know if Dawn's still an item. I guess she is, but that was a pretty big deal back in the 90s.
Was this a Dark Horse comic? Was this like when you had all those independent shops set up in the early 90s?
It was an independent book. Mm-hmm. I don't know who made it. I pretty much looked at the covers, Bo. I'll be honest with you.
When I used to frequent comic book stores in the early to mid 90s.
You did that?
Oh yeah, because you got to remember that's where I bought all my Magic the Gathering cards.
What a geek! Nerd.
All right, Aaron. Well, since there's not much in the way of banter this week, why don't we dive right in?
Just killed the banter off. That was
what else are we going to talk about? You got any Black Dawn stories?
Magic the Gathering adventures. Do you have a trunk full of those cards?
Man, if I did, I could retire. Those things are crazy expensive now.
Now, the Hat Chad has a ton of those.
Yeah, he dips his toe in and out of the water. And by dips his toe, I mean he dives into the pool head first and then surfaces now and again.
It's funny. I remember the old Chad had a trunk full of those things, and I believe he sold them to Hat Chad.
Yes, that's true.
And I also remember that the Brent also had a trunk full of those cards, and I remember he sold them for a bunch of money and bought one of those CD changers. Money well spent.
Possibly would like to have that purchase
technology
back.
Became more irrelevant than those things.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was watching LGR in one of his thrifting episodes, and he came across, I swear, a 500 CD changer. I mean, there was no upper limit on these things. It's like, what are you doing? If you got 500 CDs and you want to hit shuffle, how long is it going to take you to load up those guys? And how are you going to tell which CD goes where?
How big is that
thing? It was like the 500? Size of a car trunk. It was crazy.
I like how people just sacrifice their trunks. It's funny when MP3s had just become a thing. You could play them on your PC. My buddy Chef Groovy, he had this rig in mind to have a computer mounted in his car.
That's a fantastic idea.
And have his computer hooked up to a speaker system. That shows you how quickly things change because there was no portable MP3 player.
Well, I remember Leo Laporte on the Screensaver show. He devoted an episode to how you could make an MP3 player the size of I think he actually built it inside of a shoebox. And so that was, of course, then you had the Diamond Rio and all that. You probably had a Diamond Rio, didn't you?
I wasn't involved in the early MP3 things. What I did have was remember when they had the CD players that did MP3?
Yep, I had one of those.
I had those. I'd burn my own disc.
Yeah, and even then, that was such...
I used to listen to retro gaming radio on my way to work, and I would have a disc, and I'd burn it before I left. And what was the worst is if the disc went bad or something, you'd be right in the middle of the show and it would go, and you were screwed.
Right.
That was a problem with those things. You know?
Yeah, but I did that. I remember when I got my first MP3 Discman, and I could load up the entire Beach Boys catalog on one disc. I mean, I was amazed that it seemed like the future, and of course, we didn't know what the real future was. This is the real future.
You know what bothers me, Bo? And of course, I was actually playing Black Dawn Rebirth last night, and I was talking to my son. And I was like, yeah, I told Luke, I was like, this came on 6 floppy disks. And he was like, well, what the heck's that? So I was like, I looked over at my shelf and I'm like, man, there's a whole, there's shelves full of floppy disks. And he's not sure what one is. So I had to stop the game. I went over, got a box. Here's a floppy disk, son. I was just trying to explain to him how much it held. And I remember distinctly when 3.5-inch discs were they were the SD card of their day. Because they were so much more durable. And I mean,
1.3 meg.
If you look at the steps we've taken in terms of storage, it's unbelievable how quickly I remember watching a thing on TV one time. They said AT&T Laboratories has devised a technique where they can store like an entire book on the head of a pin. And I remember thinking, that's crap. That's never going to happen, you know. And then, lo and behold, Bo, people need to appreciate this stuff, Bo.
It's true. We live in a glorious time.
I've got VCRs all over my house, and I'm going to tell you something. You need to appreciate what you got. You don't ever want to go back to tape. You don't ever want to go back to floppy disk. You got the best thing. You've got all the good stuff now.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Speaking of good stuff, Aaron, let's talk about the videos that we've put out on our channel this past week. We don't have any site updates this week on everythingamiga.com, so we thought we'd move up the video talk to the very beginning. Kicking things off, Aaron, a little sneak preview of what's to come on the Coco Show. I recorded some footage of Double Back. Had you played Double Back before, Aaron?
I've sang it.
Oh.
Remember that song from ZZ Top?
I was thinking that
Double Back Again. No?
That was probably the direct inspiration for this song.
Yeah.
I've
played this back in the Disney.
Yeah. So
and with the Black Beauties, but you know, it's funny. I never knew the secrets. And we will reveal the secrets.
All will be revealed on the Coco Show this week.
Because I just played this like a schlup. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, there was not really a good quality video on YouTube for Double Back, as we've discovered doing lots of the different shows that we do. So sometimes we have to record our own footage, but I didn't mind because Double Back's an awesome game.
Yeah, good job, dude.
Let's see. Let's talk about ARG this week, Aaron. This was a landmark first edition for ARG. Why don't you tell the fine folks out there what you and Brent talked about this week?
Well, you know, the Brent is a mad scientist, and so a while back he put a piece on the wheel called ARG Battle, and much like I normally do with the Brent, I just ignored him and hoped he'd go away. But eventually, this past week it came up. And so I didn't know what ARG Battle was. And I was told that what we're going to do is we're going to have a debate, an oral debate. And the topic we chose was making your case for your platform in the late 80s. And so my platform was the Tandy 1000 TL MS-DOS computer, and Brent's was the Nintendo NES Entertainment System. And we just had a little friendly back and forth banter about the the good and bad sides of each platform, what one could do that the other couldn't, and the variety of games that were available. We had a good time, and I think we stayed pretty civil, and we've got a lot of good feedback on it. And I think I think there's a little bit of everything there. I think you can enjoy either or both, but it was still fun to go back. I had a lot of fun researching it, so the show's done pretty well. So if that's sort of your bag, check it out.
Cool. Let's see, and finally, Aaron, I wanted to finally put to rest the eternal battle that has been raging since the dawn of time.
I couldn't believe this came up.
It's
got to be run dry by now.
There are really only two ports that anybody cares about when it comes to Donkey Kong. I mean, the ColecoVision port, the NES port, the system that was designed to play Donkey Kong as arcade perfect as possible. Nobody cares about those. What really matters is a clone for the Tandy color color computer versus the Atari 800 XL version.
The immortal struggle.
Right. So I put both of these games up against each other and ran them side by side and moved the sound back and forth. And I'll let you be the judge. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the faster moving Atari version, or do you prefer the more arcade accurate in terms of girders Coco version? So it's up to you, the listener, to decide. I'm just putting both those out there for your pleasure.
You know, the funny thing about these two versions, and of course, we've been going around on this for months now, it seems like decades. But the funny thing about it is they are literally they're two different sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And they both have flaws, and their flaws are the exact opposite of the other game's flaws. Right. And so what you really need in there, and of course that would ruin the fun, but you really need like that happy medium, in there. And there is a happy medium in there, but it's not, of course, it's not debatable because it's not on either one of these machines. But of course, and you mentioned the ES version of this, I really thought the 7800 version of this was really good. And it gets no love.
Yeah, in fact, I don't think I've ever played the 7800 version of Donkey Kong.
You should give it a whirl. It seems like I sat down one day and decided that was the ipso facto best port. So, but you do the couple. Yeah, I will say I like your little comparisons, and this looks great.
Cool. All right, and that wraps up what we. Oh no, I'm sorry. There's one other video that we put out since last week, Aaron, and that is Bruce Lee for the Atari. We had episode 4 of 1200 XL, an Atari 8-bit podcast, and we talked about Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, one of our favorite games, and we covered it on episode 1 of our Sinclair, but the Atari version is the original, and many people say still the best version.
I say that. It's the best.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you decided that we were going to look at this. I'd played this thing 1,000 times, but I wanted to play it through over and over to see how much it changed. I'd never done that, and it gets a lot harder.
People talk about how easy this game is, but
after the first level,
I don't find this game that easy. But I'm not very good at video games, so maybe that has a lot to do with it. But I love Bruce Lee. I love its slower, more thoughtful gameplay. It's definitely a unique title in the 8-bit catalog. So anyway, if you're interested in that, check out 1200 XL this week.
Yeah, good game. I love that one.
All right, Aaron, it's time for this week's Amiga news. The Gamble train has been good to us this week, Aaron.
Oh, good.
We start things off with a podcast that our buddy Pixels at Dawn was on this week. I'd never heard of this podcast before.
I hadn't either. I'd never heard of this until he mentioned he was going to be on it.
It's called The Hitching Post. And this is they do different topics. It's not all about one particular system. And this one is about the Amiga. And what better guest to have on this show than Amiga mastermind Pixels at Dawn himself. It's a pretty interesting panel. I think that there were 3 Brits and 1 American guy. Of course, the American guy had no idea about the Amiga back in the day, just like every American guy. And the 3 Brits were like, the Amiga was awesome. So it was a great episode. I was like, I'm going to listen to a couple minutes of this just to see how it is so I can talk about it on the show. And I ended up listening to like a half an hour. It was great.
I haven't heard it yet, so I'm going to it's on the list.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So if you haven't heard of the Hitching Post podcast, you can get it on all your favorite podcast platforms of choice. And I guess Pixels at Dawn is going to become a permanent host on the Hitching Post podcast. So
did you see what Pixels just wrote? He said the American guy was Mr. Cola.
Oh, it was Mr. Cola. I had no idea. I guess I must have glossed over the introductions at the beginning, or maybe he didn't introduce himself as Mr. Cola.
He's also a perennial Twitch streamer.
Yeah,
Mr. Cola is.
Yeah. He's also a supporter of this show, so we thank him on a number of levels. All right, next up. Penmark is back this week, Aaron. And of course, one of the great things about the Amiga community is you've got people covering all sides of the coin, which I guess is really only 2 sides because coins only have 2 sides unless you count like that weird like edge side Anyway, this week, Tenmark is all about productivity on the Amiga. He's all about creativity. He's all about productivity. And this week, if you're at all curious about how to open a PDF file on your Amiga, Tenmark is your man. I'll tell you who's not your man. Me and you, Aaron. We're not gonna be covering anything like this. So you're gonna have to find another source, and the best source out there for any kind of productivity stuff, I think, is Tenmark. He's very in depth. And have you ever opened a PDF on your Amiga before, Aaron?
I don't think the time ever came about where I needed to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Never really occurred to me, frankly.
Yeah.
So
but
no, I would say probably not.
As more and more people are, extending the life of their Amigas either through emulation or through the FPGA Amigas or whatever, there may be times where you want to start to, open these more contemporary file formats, and Tenmark is your man to show you the way.
Yes. Well done. I haven't even seen that one yet. I thought I saw the most recent one, so I must have missed it.
Now, this also comes to us from Tenmark. He tweeted this out, and I promptly grabbed the link. This is a new FTP client that you can use for your Amiga. This works via Morph OS or OS4. And I can. There are definitely occasions for people to use FTP, not only for their modern Amigas, but also classic Amigas and even classic systems like the Atari 8-bits. I know that there is an FTP Wi-Fi solution that is currently under development. I think it's called FujiNet. It's a great way to transfer files, and if you've ever messed around with a Raspberry Pi, you're going to find yourself doing this a lot too. So yeah, this is you can check this out. This is called RNO and XFR, which I think is like transfer or something. You can find this at the link at our show notes at the bottom of this YouTube video or in the show notes in the podcast.
I do most of my FTPing on the original Xbox.
Oh yeah, that's
where it seems like I'm forever transferring stuff back and forth to that thing.
Now, Aaron, this was a game that probably should have been debuted on our Halloween show. This comes to us from our buddy Neil over at Indie Retro News. The Curse of Rabenstein. This is a high-grade graphical text adventure released for multiple systems. Yeah, we don't want any of that low-grade stuff.
No.
This thing, Aaron, talk about covering all your bases. Right. This guy has released this horror text adventure game for, get ready, the C64, the Plus 4, the CPC, the ZX Spectrum, the Amiga, the Atari ST, DOS, and PC.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah. And you can...
It's like Rise of the Robot.
That's right. You can grab the digital download for free, or you can order a physical edition, which I believe is 25 euros. And
once you click on that, let's see what the box looks like.
I don't believe that it comes with a box. Oh yeah, it does. It does come with a box. I take it back.
I knew it.
It's the box, the diskette, and it looks like some versions come with a micro SD. Maybe all of them come with it. Let's see. You've got to scroll down trying to find the Amiga version here. Yeah, the Amiga version comes with the disc, a cardboard box, the micro SD card, a necklace with a wooden cross. Heck yeah. An 8.
I like that.
An 8.
See, that's thinking outside the box right there.
An 8-page DIN A5 manual. I don't know what any of those words mean.
I don't either.
It comes with stickers and it's shrink wrapped, so you can send that thing off to be graded and slabbed, put it up on your shelf, and never touch it again.
Scroll down. Did I see that this has a ZX Next release?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So
see, that's getting on the trolley right there. What's his cat's name again, Bo?
Oh, geez, you asked me too quick. Let me go back to the Indie Retro News and see if I can find out here. Looks like Stefan Vaught. Stefan Vaught.
Yeah, I'm giving this guy the thumbs up. The game may be great, it may be horrible, but I'm giving him thumbs up for getting all the little gimmicks correct. I like that.
Absolutely. All right. So, and again, if you're looking for, game, we don't really cover a lot of game in development news. If you want to find out what is in the pipeline for the Amiga, Indie Retro News is a great source. We really appreciate
for any system. They cover a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They need to cover Coco. I'm trying.
Now, Aaron, last week you brought this up, and this guy has actually released part 2 of this video. This is More Ways the Amiga is Awesome. And this is a guy, this is exactly how I picture you. Maybe not in 1992, because you were already very old at that point, but maybe around 1986 or 1987. This would have been you incarnate. Just some guy, looks like he's sitting in his school AV room, hanging out by himself.
I wish I had a lab like he's got. I always wanted where the TVs are built into the wall like that. That's so futuristic, like Buck Rogers or something.
He takes his school PA microphone and he just starts a ranting.
I love it. This is my kind of geek.
Yeah.
He gets in there and he tears it up.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, one of the many reasons YouTube is great is for these things that would never, ever, ever be seen again can be seen by the world. And it's a fantastic time capsule of of this guy's life, and I'm sure many other people's.
Hair, Bo?
Oh, I would kill for that head of hair.
Exactly what my hair used to look like.
You were living the dream back then.
It was disheveled.
Yeah, but you want that tasseled look. That's what it's. Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't care. He's in a futuristic computer room.
That's right.
Computers don't care what your hair looks like. It's all greasy and jacked up. I love it.
Yeah. All right, and finally, Aaron, these are. I don't know if we've talked about these before, but I saw them come up on a Facebook group. You do have alternatives when it comes to new, different power supplies for your Amiga. And these are sold on eBay by the Air Drive Wi-Fi group. And this is it's a smaller power supply. It's more svelte. It's black, and black means cool.
That's right. It's labeled.
It's labeled. And this thing will power an Amiga 500, basically everything except for the 1000. You can pick one up for about $43. So I guess including shipping, it's going to run you about $50.
Do they have a U.S. version, Bo?
That is a great question, and I do not know the answer. You could always buy a step-up converter. Of course, then you're just adding more equipment.
That's right.
But at any rate, this is just another option. Now, I will say that one of the criticisms of this particular model is that it doesn't have an on-off switch on the thing itself. And I know a lot of people like to have the on-off switch on the power supply itself. So that is one downfall of this thing. But
that is strange.
Yeah.
I wonder why they didn't put it, because they obviously the original power supply did have an on-off switch.
Right.
That's an odd omission.
It is, and so that is just caveat emptor, as they say. Watch out. But if this looks like your bag, hey, it's available. You can get it for $50.
Yeah. Or, Boat, what you do is you get some dudes in Poland to rig you something up. You put it in a box.
That's right. You put it in a shoebox. You go over to your Michaels.
It works great.
You get one of those photo memory boxes. You take yourself an electric drill, drill some holes in it. Boom.
Yeah. You should sell those, Bo. You can do what these guys are doing.
Get ready for my new eBay store is incoming.
Maybe the guys in Poland will work you up a batch deal.
I'd love it. You know what else I love, Aaron?
God only knows.
Black Dawn Rebirth.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about
this bad boy, Boatster. Now, this game, I think we covered this in terms of it was coming last year. I do recall it coming up on that show. This came out, I believe it was in December, Boat, of 2019. Black Dawn Rebirth. So, I mean, literally, as timely as today's headlines, Boat.
Yeah.
And this was published by Double Sided Games, who are they're a player out there in the modern gaming. The fella that developed, there was actually a couple groups credited with the development of this: Z-Soft and the Raster Wizards. This was designed and coded by a guy named Sean Waters. Now I looked at his credits, Boat. Tell me if any of this stuff rings a bell. I've been told that this game is part of a series of Dawn games, and I see a couple Dawn games that he's worked on, Dawn 6 and Dawn. I don't know how the storyline falls in or whatever on those. He also did a game called Boing, He did Parasite 1 and 2, a game called Rotator.
I remember Rotator. We've talked about that.
We looked at Rotator, didn't we, Toad? What was that? Do you recall?
It's a puzzle game.
This was also code was also worked on by someone named Colin Vela, and they were one of the people that worked on Barbarian Plus, which we also looked at, which was really good. The graphics in this were done by Tin Shu, spelled cool guy style. And the music by Mike Richmond, who has scored Abduction, Aquacon. That sounds pretty cool, boat. Aquacon. Boing, Dawn, all the Dawns, Parasite.
All the Dawns.
Plebs, Vegetables. Remember that Vegetables game we saw Amiga Bill playing? I think that was that one. White Rabbits and Thunder Dawn. He scored all those. They also want to mention that the box art was done by Tin Shu, and the box art on this is super cool. It's like a skeleton in like a space suit. It looks really good. Yeah. So the good thing about this game is this is we often complain, Bode. Full stop. We often complain, but one of the things we complain about, and we also get that look on our face. Is like when a new game comes out and it's only for the Amiga with an 060 and it requires like 50,000 megs of memory. This game requires has really low requirements for play. You have to have a 1 meg of chip memory and a meg and a half of RAM total, which those are, and it's OCS, ECS, so it'll run on almost anything. So there are many. That's a pretty standard requirement. So they made this with all the lower end Amigas in mind. Now, as we get into it, we'll find out that there's a few little items they put in that would spice the game up a little bit if you had a faster Amiga. But I like the idea that they made something that everyone could play.
That's full stop the best thing about this game.
Yeah. This came on 6. Count them, 6 big discs, Boat. You got an intro disc, and then you've got 5 game discs, Boat. Yeah. So that's a hefty amount of discs.
What do you think about the concept of the intro disc?
I like it. I'll tell you why. I like a good intro, as you know. There's a whole lot more coming.
Right. I knew that was coming.
Now the flip side of that is sometimes you don't want to set through the intro, do you? The good thing about having a separate intro disc is when you don't want to set to the intro, you just chuck that, put in disc 1, you're good.
That is my personal opinion. I am in favor fully of the intro disc because that's going to be something that you watch a couple times and then you're going to just put it away because you want to dive right into the game.
Unless it's Blood Money, which you just watch it over
and over. Well, then you
just
don't play the game. Yeah, right, off. Exactly.
Now, I will say the downside of the intro disc is it's just another expense. Yeah. So I don't know how much per disc you're paying, but it's there. But I don't think it's a huge deal. Yeah. Now this is a commercial release, Bo. This ain't this ain't a freebie. You got to pay.
You got to pay.
And you can get this over at doublesidedgames.com. Now at press, when I was looking at this. They were asking, I think, and you just purchased this.
I can tell you exactly how much it costs.
Okay, go, man.
$12.59 Canadian.
Okay, what is that in American? About $10.
It's like $9.50.
And then if you want the box, now I think the boxes are sold out. I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't look into getting the box, so I'm not sure.
The box, you're looking at $60 Canadian.
Okay.
Which was about about $49 US, something like that.
That seems maybe.
Yeah. So I will say the box is cool looking. The art looks good. The manual on this thing is. I will say if you're buying it to get all the accoutrement that would come in a box, it's not like it's loaded. There ain't no wooden cross on this sucker. And the manual is just like a couple pages. So it's not a. If you're wanting it, you're basically for your $59 Canadian, you're buying the box. But the box is cool looking. So if you're one of those people that like a cool gimmick on their shelf, box.
Oh yeah, and I mean this is one of the more attractive. I say attractive in quotations. It's a very well drawn cover. It's not beautiful, but it's the art's very good.
Fellow here, Tin Shu, he's got a future in graphics. I think this guy's got a lot of talent. So I believe that I read though, Bo, that they were limiting the boxes. It seemed like I read there was a run of 100. And I think they were all gone. So I don't know if you can still get this or not.
Yeah.
I think it was listed on the webpage.
Well, if you're going to make a boxed game, you have to do it that way because you have to count on people's FOMO instincts kicking in. If you say that this thing is going to be in production in perpetuity, you're never going to be able to sell as many as you need to break even. You have to say this is a limited number. You got to jump on now.
Hey, listen, if it works though, if they that's good for them. Now let me ask you before we get into this game wholly. What do you think of these prices in terms of? Do you think that's $10 for the discs virtually and $49 for the boxed version? How do you feel about that? Because that's pretty much that's straight up actual game price.
Yeah, I think that I'm happy to pay. $10 is my upper limit, and I take it or leave it. You can hate me for saying this or not, but $10 is my upper limit for any new retro title. No matter if it's for the Amiga or for the Atari or whatever, I'm willing to pay up to $10. Over 10 for a digital file, I'm not on board. I'm sorry, let me just finish.
No, you're right.
For the physical copy, it's really hard to say because without looking at the actually holding the manual and the map or whatever in my hands to see the quality of the paper and stuff. That kind of thing matters. If you're getting something and you open up the box and it looks like the manual's been photocopied, I'd probably feel pretty cheated for paying $60. But if it's good quality paper, if the map has a nice texture to it or something like that, I don't know. $60 is still. That seems pretty high for me. I think I'd probably top out at about $40 for even a game that I love to buy the physical edition. I think $40 is as high as I'd go.
Given the exchange rate from Canada, this was probably.
Oh yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting that this is Canadian dollars. Yeah. So if this was a game that I really, really wanted to have the physical version of, I don't think $60 Canadian's out of the ballpark.
Now I will say I know the game came with a user's manual and a map. Book, which we'll get into the map booklet here in a minute. I got a bone to pick with that. So let's get into this game. So what is Black Dawn Rebirth? Now I mentioned that there was a some sort of series, but frankly I don't know what the series is. But this thing does come with some flavor text, basically. And basically, if you look at this thing, what you're doing is checking out the inside of this plant of this basically a base. You go into it and you're looking around. There's sort of an ongoing. As you go through this, you're going to come to some computer consoles that have they sort of give you an idea of what's happened in this base.
It's a modern touch. That's like every modern game does that these days.
It's funny. I was watching. I remember when Tinmark covered this game, and I watched this video, and he had mentioned that one of the things he didn't like was that there was once you started the game, there was no storyline in it. And I was looking at the comments under his video, and the guy that wrote the game actually said that they came out with a revision where I guess they added those terminals.
Oh, okay.
To give the game a little more flavor. Good idea.
Yeah.
Because you need something.
Yeah.
It almost sort of remind me of like a Doom-like thing. You're going into this base. There's something horrible's happened. You don't know what.
Right.
That sort of thing. So the backstory. It's not like this is not like Ultima where you're. At least as far as I could tell. So then you're getting into it. Okay. So let's boil this thing down. If you've ever played Dungeon Master, for example, this game will be right in your wheelhouse. It's one of those one at a time walking, picture redraw, like 3D dungeon crawlers. Is there a better name for that boat than what I just staggered through?
No, I think that you described that pretty as accurately as you possibly could have.
Now you've got the choices of how you want to travel in this game. You've actually even got choices on top of that. You've got the ASDW keys that you can use to go backwards, forwards, left, and right, and they work fine. And then you've got your mouse, to sort of do diagonals, because on the screen they're also the same button.
You can do diagonals with the keyboard too. You just use E and Q.
Well, I know, but I never did.
That's insane.
And
because you have to use diagonals more than you use cardinal directions in this game.
Yeah, you do. So you are in a sort of a dimly lit space base, all right, or a planet
base. I like it.
And you've got the screen is sectioned off. At the bottom part, you've got a very small area that sort of gives you your currently armed weapons and some slots and your health and whatnot. And then above that, you've got the visual area. It's actually pretty attractive. And when you right-click, the bottom part sort of expands into a full inventory screen with all the stuff you've got on you. It's got like a picture of a person where you can fill slots. You know, it's actually pretty nice, Boat. I kind of like the interface. It's simple. It wasn't complicated for me to figure out what I needed to do. And the whole like drag the item onto your body thing, that's pretty standard stuff that was easy to understand. You also have a two hands up. That's where you can put like weapons or shields or whatnot. You kind of just drag them in there and you're good to go. So let's talk about the actual walking around part of this. Again, we mentioned it's just like block by block. If you scroll down to the inventory area, there are two buttons there that will actually change sort of the way you move around the dungeon. There's one that's marked 3D, and there's another one right underneath it. And what these do is basically turn on and off sort of a smoothing, and also turn on and off this sort of effect when you turn that gives you sort of a smooth transition from one look to the next.
Right.
Did you fool with these at all, Bo?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Did you?
I wasn't running an accelerated Amiga through emulation,
right.
And so the top of the two, there's one that just gives you the turning animation, and then there's one that's like extra cool something, and that made my Amiga glitch out on me, and so I turned that off.
Yeah, I turned both of them.
Oh, I didn't turn off the turning animation because
I didn't want anything.
The turning animation is actually, it does help you get an idea of, it helps you orient yourself in a way that is it made it easier for me to navigate than having it off. So I did find that to be useful.
You can turn them on and off your legs.
Yeah.
Also at the bottom, you can change the color of your lower HUD if you want. And you can also
I think the interface in this actually, when you right click and the window slides up, I think all of that is done very well.
I agree. You can also change the gamma on your visual dungeon screen via your inventory screen. You can just lighten it up or darken it, wherever you want to do. I turned mine all the way up, like mine was as light as you could make it. So that's pretty much your interface. Oh, I should also mention that the far right of the interface there's a blank block. If you get the auto mapping device, this block will give you a very small area map that you can help to navigate with, and you can even get stuff that will tell you where upcoming enemies are and stuff. But I never got any of this stuff, Boat. I had to look into it. So what do you do in this game? You wander the halls looking for stuff. Occasionally along the wall, you'll see a computer terminal. You'll see a door. You'll see a locker. You'll see some other sort of gizmo, and these are the things you can interact with. For example, if you come into a computer terminal and you click it, it will display some sort of wacky message. It might give you a hint about what's very close to that computer terminal. It may be just some flavor text, Boat. It may give you...
I never saw anything other than flavor text on those terminals.
You will. Like, for example, there's an area I got to where there's just like beside
the
terminal,
I take it back. There's the step inside thing. Yeah,
that's right. So they will occasionally give you a hint, but most of the time it's some wacky flavor text. And by the way, the flavor text I found amusing, but it did not really give me an overall picture, at least as far as I got, as to what the hell was going on.
You can tell that it was sort of tacked on.
The lockers you click on, you open them, and inside the lockers will be there. Well, usually there will be stuff. Stuff can include weapons. It can include armor. It can include stim packs. It can include health. It can include any number of different items that you can pick up. Oh, key cards also. So you also will come across things on the wall that you just can't interact with at all, even if it looks like you can. And they make me crazy. Mm-hmm. You'll occasionally come across a button or a banner. Mm-hmm. You also come across doorways that you can go into if A, it doesn't require a key card, or B, you've got the key card. Now, let's talk about briefly, Boat, using items in this game. This is one part of the game I didn't think was that intuitive, frankly. If you come to a door where you need a key card, logic to me would dictate that you either click on the card and click on the door, or put the card in your hand and click on the door. But neither one of those things work. You have to go to your item screen, click on the key card, then click use. Right. Which is a separate, but I didn't like that. No.
There's tons better ways to do that. Both the ways that you described would have been preferable.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's a deal breaker, but you have to. I thought it was weird.
Yeah. I think, whenever you have a game like this, you want to allow yourself to become immersed in the world to the highest degree possible. And that means being able to take an item from your inventory, take your mouse, click and drag on the item, and put it where you want it to go on the screen. And the best games of this genre did that.
But I agree. But I mean, again, this is nitpicking here. I'm not going to give the game too much crap. Now, let's talk about combat. So when you come across the very first weapon you'll get, at least the very first weapon I got, was a sword, which I thought was
it's odd. Ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous for a space age futuristic zombie killing simulation, and you're investigating this abandoned space base.
Maybe it's like a lightsaber.
Yeah, maybe it's like a lightsaber.
Sword that much. So But anyways. So the very first thing you get the sword. So what do you do with it, right? Well, it's in your inventory. You drag it to your hand, okay? And then you'll see at the bottom of the screen, the little block will have the sword in it. Then when it's time to use a sword, it's actually quite simple. Excuse me. You just literally tap that sword with your mouse button, and he'll swing it. Now, combat is not what I would call a visual spectacle. Basically, like, you're not really seeing your guy cut into this guy, for example.
Well, you see some red streaks on
and then you see some kind of special effects that of like you getting shot or hit, and then that's pretty much it. Eventually, one of you will die. That's pretty much it. And as far as I could tell, Boat, there's no looting or any of that stuff. I mean, pretty much they just are gone.
They're just gone.
Excuse me. Now, you can have, eventually you'll get a gun. In fact, I believe the first gun was called like
Pew Pew.
That's it. I thought that was kind of funny. I'll be honest with you. And then I got a big, like a shield, which was pretty cool. And this stuff sort of works, you put them in your hands. Right. You get armor. You get all kinds of various armaments you can put in. You just put them on, drag them over to your body. So the system of getting stuff is pretty neat. I don't have a problem with that. But the combat it's not the best. And I mean, it's not like super visually stimulating, at least the combat I saw.
Well, to be fair, compared with other games of this genre, this is quite possibly the least visually appealing combat that I've ever seen. When you compare it with, I believe that in Dungeon Master, I think you actually see like your weapon come up and swing down.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? This game is all you do in this game is combat, and you've made it look as lame as you possibly can.
I was surprised at the combat. I mean, the thing is, it's not a deal breaker. It's It's not super pretty, but I mean, it works.
Well, here's the thing.
The combat interface is okay.
Here's the thing. Like, you've brought up, lots of different complaints, and not one of any of these things is a deal breaker. But when there's an issue with every single aspect of the game, all of those,
I'm getting to the deal breaker boat. So here's my biggest gripe with this game, and I know Boat's going to agree with me here. And first of all, I didn't hate this game. I actually kind of liked it, and because Boat mentioned it, the interface in this is real good, and so getting around and stuff is great. But the problem I've got with this game is that it's 2020 and there's no map system. That's a no-no. We used to talk when we covered Dungeon Master, Black Christmas stuff. We always said, boy, these games, these are like, but not having an auto mapping system back in the day is a real trifle. You need to have a mapping. I want to have a mapping system where I hit a tab or something and be able to see where I'm at.
Well, here's the thing. If you get far enough in the game, the map will appear on the right side of the screen. That grid thing. The problem is
not big enough.
The problem is that you have to get far in the game, and you're not gonna. I mean, you're not gonna have a good time. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna let you finish your explanation before I talk. So go ahead.
Thank you, Boat. This game, and it's not just this game, but games of this type. The scenery looks identical. All right. So getting lost is super easy. Okay. Now, the book that comes with this, and luckily when we bought this, we got the PDFs of these, didn't we, Boat? And there's a map book with it. And I was like, hey, a map book. Well, that'll do the job. Well, the first level's mapped out, and then the rest of the book is blank. So you can just sort of draw in your own maps. No. I want maps, or I want something in the game to map. I'm not the kind of guy, I'm not going to drag out the grid paper. I'm just not doing it, man, for a modern game. Now, I know some people love that aspect of these games, and that's cool. And if that's what they want to do, they can just not hit the map button. But I want a map. It's just the tiles are too similar. It's just too easy to get lost. It's too darn easy. And I spent way too much. I played this game probably for 4 hours this week. And I bet I spent 2 of those hours wandering aimlessly over places I'd already been. It was driving me bananas, Boat. I just don't like that. And that's my number one pet peeve with a lot of these types of games is just getting lost. And so that was my number one problem with this. It's just some secondary stuff. There's no in-game music. Except for then the title screen has awesome music.
Well, it's your typical Amiga. It's got a great intro, it's got a rockin' title tune, and then dead silence afterwards.
Well, they could have music in there.
Well, they could. Everybody
something
could.
Else it didn't have, like remember when we played Dungeon Master? It had that awesome sort of ambient dungeon noise, where you could kind of. This didn't have any of that either. It's just sort of silent. None of these things would. The only thing that would make me just not recommend the game is strictly the mapping issue. I just don't like it. But that's a personal thing. I think it's a good-looking game. I think I think the interface is good. I think it's well thought out. And I only got to say, what do we say? Level C, Boat, 1C, something like that, before I tapped out. But there's potential there. It's funny. I researched. I looked all over to see videos of people that had gotten further, or people that had, or some maps, and I just couldn't find much anything. I would love to have had some help on this thing. I did see some of the later level tile sets. They look pretty good. This game it's got 7 dungeons, which is a total of 21 levels. It's got 14 different weapons, 21 different types of enemies. The enemies looked pretty good, by the way, the ones I saw. It also, of course, you can install this on your hard drive. It's funny, I played this off the floppies without any trouble. I just put them on my GoTech, and it's a decent game, but like I said, the map thing was a real deal breaker for me. What did you think? But I know these aren't your cup of tea necessarily.
All right. Well, before I get started, whenever you cover a new game that is obviously a passion project for somebody. The developer of Black Dawn Rebirth didn't write this game for a big paycheck. and he's still around, and it's possible that he's going to watch this. And sometimes it makes it hard to be critical of, because that there's a guy that really poured his heart and soul into this game. And before I begin my critique, I want to acknowledge that, and I want to say, making a game of any kind is a very, very difficult endeavor. This guy has a tremendous amount of creativity, and I appreciate the work that he's done for the Amiga community. Now, let's talk. What is this game? Okay, what is the genre of this game? Is this a puzzle game? I don't think so. Is this a party management game? No, because there's no party. It's just you. Is this an inventory management game? No. Is it a loot collection and upgrading game? No. What this game is imagine if there weren't decent computers in the early to mid 90s, if the PC wasn't around and you only had the Amiga, and you couldn't have games like Doom or Wolfenstein. This would be the natural evolution of the first-person genre, where you have hardware that can't handle 3D, fast movement. You have to draw one screen at a time. And that's essentially what Black Dawn Rebirth is. It is a Doom game, a Doom type game that draws one frame at a time. It has the click combat instead of real-time combat, and it's the same mechanic that Doom is, which is basically you wander these huge arena-like areas, you collect key cards, you use the key cards to unlock doors and discover new content. That is the game. There are weapons that you pick up along the way. As you progress through the game, you get more and more powerful weapons. And you get health packs that you use to recharge your health. You discover aspects of the story as you move further through the game. You don't really need the story. The story is pretty, it's pretty cut and dry in terms of your sci-fi tropes. You come across, you come across an abandoned, military base of some kind. You don't see anybody around, and it gradually appears that something tragic has happened, and you're going to have to kill a lot of things. It's your basic. You're a guy with a weapon. Your job is to kill all the other guys with the with the weapon that you have. I don't understand why you have to design a game that is purposefully confusing to the player in terms of navigating the level. I don't understand why you have to make your tile set where you've got like 3 or 4 tiles and all of them have to look exactly the same. I don't understand why you have to create kind of cool looking things on the walls that are blinking, that look like they might be able to help you in some way and then make them useless. I don't understand why you can't build in a map system for players that want to use it from the beginning instead of making you find it later on down the line. And I'm not saying that this is a bad game because of all those things. What I'm saying is I don't understand the mindset that you have to be in to think that this is a good game. And so, again, I'm not trying to rip this game apart. I'm just saying that I don't understand the appeal of a game like this on any level. Any level, I don't understand the appeal. It's different than Dungeon Master. Dungeon Master I didn't like, but I could understand why people could like a game like this. In 2020 or 2019 when this game came out, I just don't understand what kind of gamer would load this thing up and think, boy, this is fantastic. This is really, really fun. I just can't put myself in that mindset.
Well, I understand that. I mean, listen, hey, I think that was pretty fair. First of all, it's not your bag.
True.
And then it would have to really excel itself to be interesting to you, and you don't feel like it did. I understand the reasons why. There you go. Simple and to the point. That said, if this genre of game is your cup of tea, you may find something enjoyable in Black Dawn Rebirth. And as you go further into the game, you may it really may ramp up. It's funny when you mention this, Bo, because it hadn't really occurred to me until you said it. This is sort of a if Doom and Dungeon Master had a child, this game would be sort of what it was like. It is rather doomy in a way.
I mean, in what ways is this not like Doom? I think that's a better question. Other than the fact that it's less fun to play.
There were plenty of attempts on the Amiga to make a Doom-like clone, including types like this. And I mean, you're not wrong, frankly. There is some puzzle elements to this, though. There's some pushing. I mean, I saw some stuff where you push walls and there's teleporters and stuff. So I mean, they're going to be the sort of key card elements that we've seen in games like this. And like I said, not having gotten super far into the game, I'm not going to sit here and say that there may be awesome stuff coming, but the stuff you said, I agree with. Having stuff on the walls that you can't interact with, that looks like it's interactable. What I would like to see happen, but we've talked about this in like graphical adventure games. If it's something you can interact with, just have your cursor light up or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would save you a lot of trouble there, as opposed to just going through and clicking, because there are areas in this with buttons, with even hidden buttons that are real tough to see. We don't need that kind of stuff.
And I mean, I just don't understand why you would go out of your way to make an area that you want the player to explore, yet you make that area as difficult to explore as possible and as least visually interesting as possible. Like when there's only 3 different types of tile that you can put on the walls. And again, I realize that you're dealing with memory limitations and the limitations of the system. But I mean, I can't put myself in the mindset where that is fun.
I try to look at this in the framework of the systems it's on. Like if this game had been released in 1988 for the Amiga 500, how would this be received? And I think it would probably be received fairly well.
It would have been a different concept. There weren't a whole lot of games this back then. Right.
But in 2020, hey, listen, I'm a spoiled jerk gamer. I would like a little more ease of use. That's just me. But now, again, and I'll take this to the house. People that like these sorts of games, they like this sort of challenge. They like mapping. They like, and so if this is a game that's made to appeal to those people, they should be happy. But I'm not that guy. And I think a lot of people are like me.
Well, speaking of a lot of people like you, let's take a look at our Discord channel and see what our Discord members said about Black Dawn Rebirth.
On this.
First off, we've got Jason Warrens. He writes in and he says, "Blow the dust off your graph paper mapping skills, folks. Here's a traditional dungeon crawler with great graphics, atmospheric sound, and decent controls. Sure, my dungeon crawling skills are terrible, but that didn't stop me from having fun with this one once I got a decent weapon. If dungeon crawlers are your thing, check it out. Overall, 7 out of 10. Pixels at Dawn writes, "Definitely a game that benefits from a beefier system, but I still managed to have a good time playing it on my A600. The movement is good, but the UI and combat can feel a bit clunky, an easy thing to fix in the sequel, and I wish the graphics were a little more distinctive. One wall looks very much like the next. The constant hum of the ship creates a real atmosphere in this space adventure and keeps you coming back. It even has a funky intro. I do wish there was more text description or audio cues, however, as to what is happening. When you move between floors or use a teleporter, for example, it's not clear where you ended up or even if anything has happened, which keeps you from feeling grounded in the world.
Yes.
One of the better new games to come out on the Amiga in recent years, however, but could definitely benefit from a bit more polish. 7 out of 10.
The turbo lift comes to mind instantly. I was so confused when I walked into that thing. Yeah. It doesn't give you a good bump of direction.
Here's what you do. You go into the turbo lift, you turn around, the door can shut. You don't have to have a door shut animation. Then you shake the screen. That's all you have to do.
Were you confused when you staggered into that thing?
I was confused the whole time I was playing this game. I was lost and confused 99.9% of the time I spent playing this game.
Did we have any more Discord
we
on
got
that?
one more.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Rushi says, an atmospheric, solo, sci-fi dungeon crawler that's unfortunately light on depth. The post-release patch that added flavor text to the terminals did wonders for the world building and gave it a retro System Shock vibe. But the stove-piped character progression and key hunt gameplay makes the game feel much closer to Doom RPG. Oh, there we go. Than a future counterpart to The Quest. My one real complaint about the game is the real-time gameplay mixed with grid-based movement. It's not a bad game, and the lighter gameplay makes it easy for me to enjoy in small bites when I have time. But if you're looking for a serious dungeon crawler, you're going to be disappointed. I'm cautiously optimistic for the next game in the series, assuming the randomized level designs work out okay. That's it. I will
say Rushi brings up a good point. The combat in this is real time, and it caught me off guard, in a weird way. It's odd. The combat could use some polish, that's for sure. I looked for some reviews on this thing, Boatster. Aside from those people, Lemon has this thing at a 5.67, but with very few people chiming in, so I wouldn't take that to heart. And I believe it or not, I actually found a copy of this on eBay that had sold in the past year and had sold for $40 the boxed version. So apparently these things will creep up on eBay. I think the 7 out of 10 assessment, I would say that's fairly, I think I would put, this game is not a loser. It's not a failure. It's just what will probably be hopefully the building block that they can build something that is a little more polished with a little more backstory and kind of fix some of the stuff we talked about, because I think clearly the people that did this have talent. There's no doubt. Oh yeah,
like when you look at the individual elements, like the 4 tiles that make up the wall set in this, each one of those tiles is beautifully drawn.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't talk about the intro. What did you think of the intro?
Oh, it was great. Thing? It made me pumped up.
It was pretty good. Yeah. And the music was good too. But listen, you've got a guy that can make that sort of tune. Get that dude involved. And that hum. I turned my volume way down, and that was no good.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, it's fine to have the ambient noise. If you want to, but give me an option to have some in-game music too.
Yeah, I know that's a real beef with you in the in-game.
Just give me an option.
Yeah, I understand, man. But overall, 7 out of 10, I think that's somewhere. That's about the way I feel about it, Bo.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap things up, Aaron, I do want to thank everybody that is watching here in Twitch with us. We're recording earlier today, but normally we record Fridays. As long as we are recording remotely, we're going to try and have a little earlier start for all of our friends over in Europe. Pixels at Dawn Gaming is here doing a great job modding the chat. 10-minute Amiga Retrocast is with us. Midgard73, aka Edvin Helland, is here. Actually, I think that's Edmund. Picard 2010, Rushi MSX is here. Let's see, Wing Chun Wolf is here with us. Retro Man Cave. Thank you guys so much. Christian Russell is here. Frodo NL, Criminal Macabre. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. And we also want to thank the fine folks that subscribe to Amigos Retro Gaming on Twitch. If you subscribe to us on Twitch, you get all the same benefits as Patreon, and you can do it for free if you're an Amazon Prime supporter. Still Adolescing, Wing Chun Wolf, GoToGoSub, Retro Jerry, L. Curtis B, Mohawk Mall, Darkwing 602, Honored Shadow, Tapes from the Crypt, Macintosh Librarian, Duncan Styles, Barkbit, Mitsuyama, Rushi MSX, Silverstreak 72, Frodo NL, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, and Jost 80. Thank you so much for subscribing to us on Twitch. And Aaron, it's your favorite part of the show. It's time for the Patreon song. But before we talk about the Patreon song. I want to wish a happy birthday to Zebedee's Magic Roundabout, one of our longtime supporters on Patreon. Happy birthday, Zeb. Hope it's a good one. And I want to congratulate all the winners of last week's Patreon Song Challenge. It was, well, I'm going to tell you the name of the song, Aaron, and I'll call you a winner if you can even name the artist. Okay? Right. You Never Give Me Your Money. No. Okay, it's the Beatles. So Zorglub, Curtis Boyle, Pac Billy, The Slow Norris, Paul Marfleet, and Mitsuyama.
Wow, I'm surprised how many people got that. I don't even remember.
You're not really a big Beatles guy, so I don't blame you. But
are you kidding me?
If you
not when you sing them, I'm not.
You didn't know the name of the tune, man. What the World Needs Now, Aaron, was the name of the song that I was going to sing, but I've just said the name of the song because you got me fired up with your lack of Beatles knowledge.
You just gave away
my own song.
Is that song? What the World Needs Now is another folk singer. That one.
This is
because I like that song.
This is the Burt Bacharach. What the World Needs Now.
I love that song too. That's good. We were going to hear that.
We were going to hear it. You know what? I'm going to do it anyway.
How did I fire you up? I didn't even say
your
nothing.
lack of Beatles knowledge just angers me.
That's all it takes? You're an angry man.
I am an angry man.
I give you a 6 out of 10.
We do have a new supporter this week, Aaron. Frodo NL, welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Frodo has been a longtime supporter of our Sinclair, and he's recently joined us as a supporter of Amigos. So we welcome Frodo with open arms from the Netherlands. So here we go. I want to sing it anyway. If you know the answer, you can write in. Solincier, Frodo NL, take Mage Zebedee's magic roundabout. Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorglub, Commodore Kid, Bjorg Gudnadson, Reflection, Simon Lech, Cap'n Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Mike W. Deckard, Threepwood, Gary, Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobster Manator, 10-Minute Amiga, Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, Retroman, Cave Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Eder, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zobark, Bit Roland Burke, Andrew Mongs, Joe the Zombie, Leaf, Kellan, Alan, Kebab, Chicote, Leveler, John, Marshall, Matthew, Perron, Ricky, DeRoche, Creepy, Dead Boy, Figgy, CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgon, Mortensen, Evan, Helen, Blitter, 75, Christopher, Hassel, Ravi, Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren, Giroux, Graham Veb, Keelan, Denson, Adam, Battersby, O'Brien's, Retro and Vintage, Gary, Huckasee, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tapes from the Crib, Josh Nadam, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rouleau, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy, Bushot, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warrens, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
Very nice.
So,
vote back.
Yeah, so here's an extra challenge for you. If you know the name of the second song that I mixed in, it's a remix. That's what the kids do these days.
It's a mad, crazy mashup?
It's a mashup. That's the right word. I couldn't think of the new word for remix. If you know that or the first song, you can send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com and I will announce you as a winner on next week's show. Speaking of next week's show, Aaron, it's racing week. You know, this has been a kind of crazy time in the world of real racing. Have you been keeping up with the news? What's been going down, Aaron?
Yeah, no racing's been going
No
down.
racing's been going down. And instead, like no other sport, the esports genre has taken over. And now Formula One and NASCAR and all of the circuits have gone over to this iRacing format featuring actual real drivers.
Didn't the dude get fired this week because he threw his joystick down and walked off?
Yeah, I love that. Those guys,
that's stupid.
It is stupid.
He should be fired from his team for fake racing. That's ludicrous. Yeah. We're gonna do the same thing with Major League Baseball.
Yeah. So
that'd be awesome. Have all the players play themselves at their positions.
I think that would be fantastic.
Game.
I'd love to see it.
You're right. You're talking me into this, Boat. And also wrestling would be great too. That'd be fun. The flunkies would be killing the big guys every night.
You know what I'd love to see is like athletes that are also, because you know there's a ton of not athletes, but there's a ton of other celebrities that are really into sports games, and I'd love to see some of those guys go up against the real guys and Madden and stuff like that. There's a lot of potential for esports as we move through this period of quarantine
for the next month. Then it's right back into garbage.
That's right. So anyway, next week we're going to be taking a look at 4D sports racing, Aaron.
Oh, it's got an extra D in there.
That's right. This was suggested by former Amigos Game Selection Committee member Figgy CTZ. He's left the committee, but his game remains, and we love you, and of course Figgy continues to be a big league supporter of Amigos, and so we can't wait to play this one. Racing Week's always a fun time for me. And we want to thank you as always for listening. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios.
Adios.